In this example, we have a saxophone audio file that has a few wrong notes in it. We're going to change the individual pitches to create a new saxophone line. Double-click on the audio file to open the sample editor. Open the VariAudio tab on the left. Activate the Pitch and Warp button. This makes Cubase analyze the audio file and detect its pitches. You may have to resize to get a full view of all the pitches. Freely move the segments that appear over the audio file to alter their pitch. These segments represent the tonal pitches of the audio. When you move the segments for the first time, you may receive a message indicating that VariAudio requires the algorithm to be switched to solo. This is normal. You will always know what the original pitch of each segment is by the orange line that appears when you move a segment. When you move a segment up or down, it will automatically snap by following in semitone steps. If you hold down Shift, you can move the segment freely with snap turned off. Youch! If the audio file has all the right notes but has some that are out of tune, you can easily straighten them out using Pitch Quantize. Select the segments you wish to pitch quantize and adjust the Quantize Pitch slider. Notice that the segments move to the nearest semitone. You can also quantize all the segments by pressing Ctrl-Command-A to select all and then adjust the Quantize Pitch slider. I'm going to zoom in a bit more so you can see how subtle the change is. Load the project called VariAudio 2-2 to listen to the changes I made to the new saxophone line. Now let's begin to explore the various possibilities of editing segments. Load up the project called VariAudio 2-3. Go into the sample editor and open the VariAudio tab on the left. Activate the Segments button. Cubase just analyzed the audio file and its detected pitches. Right away, we can see that there is a problem with the middle segment. It should actually be 2 segments instead of 1. Move the cursor to the lower border of the segment. You will notice that the mouse pointer becomes a scissor. Click where you see the pitch of the segments change. Now notice that the segment becomes 2 segments that can now be moved independently. Just before those segments are 2 other segments that need to be glued together. You can click on the first segment while holding down the Alt-Option button. A glue tube appears. This joins the segment you have clicked on with the next segment. Go ahead and load up the project called VariAudio 2-4 to see the changes I've made to this audio file. There may be times when the segments are not exactly where you would like to find them. You will need to edit their start times and end times. This may be due to noise or other variances that cause the audio file to be analyzed incorrectly. Make sure you are in the sample editor. Open the VariAudio tab on the left. Activate the Segments button. The 5th segment requires its start point to be adjusted. A hint here is to look at the audio file in the background to see where the waveform begins. Click and hold at the beginning of the 5th segment and move its start point to the right. Now click and hold at the end of the 4th segment to adjust its length so that it lines up with the 5th segment. It's generally best to make sure that the end and start time of the 2 segments are butted together. Now look at the end. The last segment seems to be short. Click and drag so that the segment is as long as the audio file. Switch back to the Pitch and Warp mode. A shortcut for this is to press Tab. The Segments mode allows for editing of the individual segments, which include changing the start and end positions of a segment. This also includes cutting or gluing segments and moving or deleting them. When you're in the Segments mode, the segments are shown with a hatched background. The Pitch and Warp mode allows you to change the pitch and timing of your audio. When you're in Pitch and Warp mode, the segments are shown with a plain background. So now let's hear the changes we've made to the audio file. Okay, so the last segment seems to carry on a bit too long. Let's shorten it so that it's about half of its length. You are actually time stretching at the segment level. When you edit the timing of audio segments, warp tabs will be created. Load the project called VariAudio 2-5 to see the changes that were made to this audio file. Hopefully it matches up with what you've been doing.